It's your boy SKANDOUZ, the hip hop original, and we're here. This is season 3 of the Head2Head series, episode number 6. And we're here with a very special MC, man. My DJ, Tom Foolery Beats, put me in touch with his amazing new project that's recently landed. It's entitled Jermiside&TheExpert, the Overview Effect. We've been spinning the cuts on our recent podcast, and we've been very fortunate and very blessed to have the man himself join us on the Zoom today. So yeah, without further ado, man, Jermaine, welcome to the Head2Head, and it's definitely a pleasure to have you on board, sir. So how you doing?
All right, pretty good, man. Scan, appreciate you having me on, for sure.
Amazing, amazing, man. So for the cats that might not be too familiar with your music over in the UK, man, our first question is, and always is for the Head2Head series, man, Jermaine, how did you find yourself into hip-hop music? How did it start for you?
Yeah, I started listening, way back in, this was like what people like to consider the golden era of hip-hop, I guess, you know what I mean? Which is like the late 90s. Well, not late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, you know what I mean? So at that time, it was groups, you know what I'm saying? Public Enemy, EPMD, Special Ed, that's a Sonic, you know what I'm saying? Groups like that. And I was real young at the time, but, I caught the hip hop bug really early. And that's pretty much where I started as far as like actually creating. Writing rhymes and things like that. I mean, before previously, I was, when Beat Street and Breaking and all of that came out, I was just like everybody else, just totally enthralled by that. You know what I mean? So, my love affair with hip hop, it goes back pretty far, for sure. But yeah, as far as like starting to create and things like that, probably it was like the late 80s, you know what I mean? Like, it was during that whole time where, the landscape of hip hop was a little bit different, you know what I mean? Everything was more geared towards, Afrocentricity and, being an educator and being original and being, there was like all of these principles and things like that were a huge part of hip hop at the time. And those were things that I really gravitated towards. So yeah,
man. And how would we what would you put down as the origin of your hip hop name? It's Jermiside, right? And was it the first name you came up with, or how did you arrive there?
Well, yeah, I used to write graffiti a little bit back in the day. You know what I mean? And my name is Jermaine. You know what I'm saying? So it was just something that I was scribbling in my little black book. And I showed the piece to one of my guys. He's like, "Oh, is that your new rap name?" I'm like, "Maybe it is." So I kind of ran with it. It's really just a play on my name. Yeah, man. So for this particular project, I'm guessing it's not your first project. So at what stage did you feel that you was obviously ready to approach this at a professional level, man, and how did you officially come into the game? Oh man, I would say officially, it officially probably started back in about 2003 or 4 or something like that. When I put out my first project, you know what I mean? It was more so a local thing. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. And it, wasn't a lot going on there as far as hip hop is concerned, so, I was running around there, trying to make as much noise as possible. And, through doing that, I linked up with a group called Tanya Morgan, which consists of, Don Will, Ilias, Avant P, Don Will and Ilias, they're from Cincinnati as well. So, we end up kind of linking up and, all, pretty much became part of the same crew. So that was kind of like my official, dive in to hip hop as far as like, the underground and things like that. So yeah, from there, you know, I just consistently, you know, tried to put out releases every you know, a couple of other years. I actually linked up with with another Irish producer. His name was Danny Diggs, and we did a couple of albums, and then, you know, that's how I got introduced to the Expert.
Man, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Expert. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, good, man, and thanks for the kind words. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Doing good.
Yeah, man. So the first question we always ask our guests, man, is the Expert. How did you find your way into hip hop?
Yeah, so I suppose I was kind of football crazy until I was around 13 or 14, and then in '92, so I'm showing my age there, a lot of important hip hop came out, I suppose, that really got me kind of at least interested. I was kind of just into pop music, whatever, the chart music. Then I kind of heard a couple of Dre songs, and I heard House of Pain, which was massive in Ireland at that time.
Yeah.
But then in '93, I heard Enter the 36 Chambers, and my life changed forever, pretty much. Obviously, there was '93, then there was Tribe and Doggy Style and Warren G, I think it was '94. They were big records when I was younger. And another really big record was the Alcoholics, Coast to Coast. That was a big record, and the Far Side's first one. But yeah, like kind of when I heard Wu-Tang, I was just absolutely hooked. And then when I was about a few years later, I got some turntables, and I got a mixer with, like, you know, a 3-second sampler on it, and I had like 3 banks of 3 seconds, so you could kind of loop a drum beat, you could, you know, loop a stab sound or whatever, and loop a little melody. And I messed around with that for hours and hours. And my older brother, who's 5 years older than me, got an actual real sampler, and that guy 2800. And when I was probably about 15, I became addicted to just working on that, figuring things out, and trying to understand how to make my own version of what I was hearing. And then when I was about 19, I joined a crew, well, probably when I was 18, but when I was 19, we got a record deal, and we brought out a vinyl single which sold out, called Blood Rush. And then so we got to making a full album. Then it wasn't me, the label and us had different ideas, so we went independent after that. This is probably the same time the UK scene was really big, where that was like Task Force or Brain Tax or Jest. And we were kind of, brought out another 2 records, and then kind of in 2009 we decided it hadn't gone where we wanted to go. Like, we were very successful over here, well known, we were able to tour around, but I suppose we knew at that stage of our lives we weren't going to make a career out of it. So then I took a few years off to see what I would do without an MC. So then I brought out a couple of instrumental records, and then started doing beats for other people, like Zilla Rocca, Curly Castro from the Wrecking Crew, and Jermiside and Legendary, and just kind of kept a couple of those relationships going, and then hooked up with Jermiside for this one. So
nice, man. So so just to backtrack a little bit, man, what would you say is the origin of the name The Expert, and was it the first name you came up with?
And it was a version of the first name I came up with, because I used to rap very badly when I was younger, but it's kind of like an ode, but also a piss take, I suppose, to everyone we grew up with. Like, back in the day, it was all about bragging and like being the best you can be, you know, or like big names like Big Daddy Kane, you know, KRS-One, stuff like that. So I was like, well, what's the most bragging I can possibly do? And I was like, well, I can't say I'm the best, but I can probably say I'm the expert. So right. It's kind of like a joke that's kind of stayed way too long. Right. So that's really, but I was always baffled how no one had taken it before. But yeah.
Yeah, and for those that might not be too familiar with the Irish hip hop scene, I'm not sure how involved you are, but I mean, obviously when you first started, was there much of a scene, and have you seen it grown over the years?
Yeah, it's grown massively. I think when we were starting, my crew's called Jermiside&TheExpert, and one of the first questions we always used to get asked over here, I don't know if it was the same in the UK, it was just kind of like what's Irish hip hop? What's this about? Only Americans do that. And we would have had to face a lot of kind of adversity or disbelief from people that it was even a thing. But I suppose we felt so strongly about the art form that we wanted to do our spin on it. And then so it was small, and there was probably, you know, about 20 crews who were taking it very seriously. Now there was loads doing it, but there was probably 20 crews taking it really seriously, like pressing up their own vinyl or releasing albums or CDs. And then that grew and grew, and now it's huge. Like now you have people on a worldwide scale. I suppose distribution has changed the game with the internet, and yeah, there's people who are absolutely killing it now and that are really well known and recognized. And like I don't know about you, like there's so many acts I actually can't even keep up with now, because I suppose hip hop back then was kind of, you know, generally, you know, boom bap or commercial and underground, whereas now it's so large that it's hard to keep up with everything. But yeah, it's great to see it grow and people recognize it more.
And so as a producer, as you started to hone your craft, man, what would you say is like your tools of the trade, man? Are you more of a software guy, or do you like to are you more hands-on? What type of equipment do you use?
Yeah, I've kind of, because I've been doing it for so long, I've kind of been through a lot of the technology changes and steps, and right about now it's really simple. It's basically 2 turntables and a sampler, my Creative Records or, you know, WAVs on full, and just Pro Tools. Everything I do is through Pro Tools. I desperately wish and want to learn Ableton, but I'm just too lazy and want to make beats on Pro Tools because I know it. But yeah, a lot of it is just kind of made through the knowledge I know and the records, what to seek, or you know, I can play keys and write original music as well. But yeah, everything is done in the box and Pro Tools now, really.
Nice, man. So you cited like RZA as an early influence, man, and a lot of people compare the Overview Effect to Eden's like classic, like Beauty and the Beat, man. So I mean, you got like listening to some of your early work, man. You got a very impeccable ear for a break and for a sample, man. So so how important is it for you? Like, is that how you start the process with the sample, or is it something you add later? What's your process, man?
Yeah, I suppose in general, most of the time I would start off with the melody, whether that's a written melody or a lot for the Overview Effect, a sampled melody, and I tend to build around that. So whether it's something that's kind of short and a kind of a 1-bar, 2-bar loop that I can build off of and add, say, little stabs or, you know, little other melodies over a short melody, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a 2-bar loop on top of a 2-bar loop on top of a 2-bar loop, or I'll take maybe a longer kind of 4-bar loop and just take little sounds in the same pitch from different records to kind of not just be repetitive 4-bar loop. I think if I was to describe my style, it's definitely to be, and it's no disrespect to anyone else because I love 2-bar loops, 4-bar loops, but it's to have things come in and out of the production and change. I suppose kind of built off like my heroes or the people I listened to, which was, you know, RZA, Pete Rock, Large Professor, that has just got a bit more nuance to it than, you know, you've heard everything within the first 12 seconds. You know, it kind of changes and stuff like that. So but drums generally come last. I unless I find a killer break or something with a really unique sound that I'll build from the drum sound. Normally drums are always last. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's interesting, man. So with the overview effects, man, Jermiside said you approached him with the concept, and you said it's loosely based on Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On." So what was the I guess the idea behind, or the reason behind that particular concept for this project?
So Marvin Gaye is my favorite artist of all time. He's an absolute genius. I love all his records, I suppose, especially the later 60s stuff and what's going on until, you know, I suppose it gets a bit dodgy in the 80s maybe. But yeah, absolutely love Marvin Gaye, and that record in particular, even though it's not my favorite, is What's Going On. I actually prefer I Want You, but I think What's Going On is so timeless, it's classic. And I think hip hop as a genre, it's my favorite genre. I love hip hop, but I think sometimes it can tend to be quite of the time and of the moment, which in one way can be really exciting, can be a new rhythm, a new style. But sometimes then, if you visit in 10 years' time, it doesn't, I suppose, age as well as other genres, I would say, such as soul music or jazz. And I think often that's strictly down to how it's written, what the topics it's written about. So, you know, I think what Marvin Gaye tackles and What's Going On, unfortunately, are topics we talk and hear about all the time, like whether that's war and ecology, or you know love and hate, trying to help each other out. These things are constant, and I just thought that the concept I had for Jermiside was if we can keep these timeless topics and I suppose the timeless sound of the 60s psychedelic production, I think it will be something that will last, and kind of if someone listens to it now or maybe in 7 years time or more, they'll kind of go, oh, I'm not really sure when that was made, but like it's pretty dope, you know. And I suppose that was the aim really, and that was the concept. Like I think the one-liner I sent to him and to Danny, who runs Rucksack Records, who we sent it to, was Marvin Gaye, What's Going On meets Dan. Like this is exactly what I want, and it excited both of them people, and lucky enough for me, it's worked out.
Nice, man. What is it when it comes to finding these producers that obviously it doesn't matter whether they're from Atlanta or from the UK, Ireland, or what is special about these particular producers that you feel, you know, meshes well with your style of hip hop?
You know, the most of the producers I mess with, you know, they're you know, just from listening, like you can tell that they come from that same era, you know what I mean, that golden era kind of hip hop vibe. So you know, when they end up sending me music, you know, it's we just click, you know what I mean. So yeah, and I think when they hear my music, you know, they can kind of hear the same thing, you know, we just kind of gravitate towards each other. And like you're saying, it don't matter where they from or anything like that, you know, it's a vibe, you know, and we're just all on the same wavelength.
Man, so who would you say? I mean, obviously you cite Tanya Morgan as a group that you came up with, man. But who would you cite as your key inspirations when it comes to, you know, formulating your style as an MC?
I was a big Tribe Called Quest fan, big Wu-Tang fan, for sure. So, you know, maybe my style is kind of like an amalgamation of those two. You know, those Souls of Mischief. I was a huge Souls of Mischief fan. I love the wordplay and how they, you know, put words together. It was just, you know, at the time it was like just, you know, unheard of. So yeah, probably out of those three, musically, they probably influenced me the most, like rhyme wise.
Okay.
Definitely, I would have to say those three. But you know, I kind of draw from everywhere, you know.
Right. Because so you're based in Atlanta, right? Or
yeah, Atlanta, Georgia.
So were there any, like, was Outkast the influence or any other Atlanta-based artists?
I mean, I was a huge Outkast fan, you know, coming up. But by the time I moved down here, which is like, you know, it was like early 2000s, around 2006 or something like that. You know, Atlanta, like the musical landscape was totally different. It was like, I guess at that time, it was like Little John and the East Side Boys, things like that, which were kind of like polar opposites to, you know, the kind of music I did. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, influence-wise, if I had to choose a group from down here, it would have to be like, you know, Dungeon Family, Outkast, you know, people like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because I mean, a lot of people in the industry cite Atlanta as like the new capital of hip hop, man. Is that something you would agree with, or?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Atlanta has, I don't know, I feel like Atlanta has probably had like the longest run as far as, you know, being on top of hip hop. They've had the longest run since like New York, you know what I mean? New York had about a 2-decade run. And, you know, I think Atlanta is coming up on about 2 decades right now of just, you know, pretty much being at the forefront of everything, you know, that goes on in hip hop, you know. Yeah. Right now, yeah. Atlanta is that central area, you know, everybody comes here from all over the country, you know, pretty much, you know. If you're not going to Atlanta, I mean, you're not doing anything, you know, so, yeah.
Right. And they still have the music conference in Atlanta, or
A3C?
Right, I think that's the one.
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't attended in a while, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still going on. Yeah, and even before then, back in the day, they had Jack the Rapper in the 90s. You know, Atlanta's always been, you know, in the mix for sure. Okay. But these last 20 years, it's been a monster.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And to be honest with you, I can't see anybody else kind of like wrestling the crown away from Atlanta at the moment. You know, and the thing I find that's different with Atlanta than what you was getting in New York and the West Coast, you know, it seems like a more of a togetherness, you know, with Atlanta, the hip hop scene. So
right, yeah,
you know, it's a beautiful thing, man. Have you had a chance to venture outside of the US yet, to perform your music, or?
No, not to perform. I haven't, man. It's kind of on my bucket list. You know, hopefully this will kind of open up the doorway to, you know, to kind of broaden my horizons as far as, you know, where I've performed and things like that. But yeah, for sure, man. I definitely like to get over to the UK or, you know, or Ireland, or, you know, wherever, for sure.
Yeah. We need to speak to the expert, man. We need to make that happen, man. Jermiside mentioned you guys haven't personally met each other yet, have you?
Yeah.
So why was Jermiside the artist that you wanted to like deliver this message? What was it about him?
So I'd worked with him from the Leicester, and just to kind of say, I love all that crew. I think they're really underrated, and I think lots of different styles and personalities, and it's great to see, you know, them get a bit more of their flowers. Like they're now, especially like Elucid is huge now, and you know, Tanya Morgan are always great. So I always thought he was a really underrated member of the crew, and you know, one of the things I liked always most about Jermiside is how he always sounded good on any beat like that. You know, there's some rappers like, I don't know, Rakim or Mos Def or J Live, or I don't know, whoever like some people just sound, or like Method Man's a perfect example. Someone who just sounds good on a lot of beats.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you know, that's kind of a producer's dream, that you can then go in different directions and try and make something interesting that they'll sound good over no matter what. So I kind of pitched the idea to him, and initially I pitched it as, you know, maybe would he like to do 1 or 2 songs and kind of after the first, I sent him one song. It was the first song we ever did was Middle Ground, which is like the middle track on it. And then I sent him, I said, do you want to try one more? And I'm not actually sure which one that was, but I remember I got them both back and he just said, man, these are great. Like, this is really working out. What do you think we should go for the full thing? And he said, sure, look, let's see what happens. So, you know, just over time we chipped away at it, and I think we both knew when we were maybe 4 or 5 tracks deep into it, we're like, yeah, this is really gonna work. So I think we probably recorded, there's 13 tracks on the record, we probably recorded like 15, 16, and we probably had written a few more, but I think we then shaved a few off just to make it the story as concise as possible.
Yeah, that's incredible, man.
So yeah, let's get into this album, man. It's an incredible album. You know, the artwork is amazing. So where did this project begin in terms of its conception, man? Like how did you run into the expert? How did this process all begin?
Yeah, well, yeah, like I was saying before, I was working with a producer named Danny Diggs, you know, who's also from Ireland originally. And, you know, we put out 2 projects. On the second project, the expert did a remix for one of the singles. It was called Victory Is Mine. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that was kind of my introduction to his work. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I'm pretty sure he did some work with the Legendary, which is, you know, the crew that, you know, consists of me, Tanya Morgan, Elucid, Shay Grand, Rob Cave, and a lot of others actually. But yeah, he did some work. He did some work with, I think he did some work with Rob. And I know he did like a remix or something for us. But yeah, that's kind of how I got, you know, introduced to the expert. And then, you know, eventually he reached out to me and was like, hey, would you know what I'm saying, would you want to work on a full-length project? You know, and you know, I didn't really have much going on at the time. I think I just put out a instrumental album, right. But yeah, I hadn't really been doing anything as far as, you know, rapping is concerned. So, you know, it was good to kind of stretch out a little bit, you know what I'm saying, to wipe the dust off and, you know, off of the microphone.
Yeah, man.
So,
because I see you listed as a producer as well. So I mean, did you have any input behind the boards as well, or was you just strictly on the mic?
Nah, yeah, I'm strictly on the mic on this, and you know, I enjoy that. You know, sometimes when you're producing and you're rapping, you know, you can get, you know, lost in the weeds, you know, of the production, and you know, it just, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times I operate better when I can just, you know, hear a dope beat and say, okay, this is it right here. And, you know, everything just starts flowing, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's how this project was. You know, you would send me, you know, a couple beats at a time. You know, the things that jump right out at me, I would just start writing immediately, you know what I mean? And it just kind of built from there. But yeah, the expert, I mean, yeah, the production, that's all him. That's all him.
So where did the concept, like, for the title of the project come from, man? And you know, how is it a conceptual album or is it just a selection of tracks? How did that come together?
Yeah, it's definitely conceptual. The expert, he brought the concept to me, actually. You know, that this is a concept that he had already had, you know, formulated in his mind that he wanted to put together. And, you know, I was just kind of the vessel, you know, I was the vessel for that project. But yeah, he reached out, he said he wanted to put together a project. It was kind of a mix between, you know, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On and was it Edon's, I can't remember what the album's called, but kind of a juxtaposition between those two. And I said, hey, you know, it's a good idea. And as far as the title, you know, I was driving around listening to NPR one day, and there was a guy on there talking about, you know, he was talking about the experience that astronauts get when they, you know, get out into the orbit and they look back at the planet Earth, you know, and one guy who I guess he was an astronaut at one point. I don't know. His name is Frank White, but he wrote a book called The Overview Effect, and it's basically describing that kind of epiphany of a moment you get when you turn back and look at the Earth. So from there, with that idea, I felt like, well, with that concept, I felt like that fit perfectly with what the expert was describing, and then everything just kind of developed from there. Like if you look at the artwork, it's a person holding a globe with, there's little spaceships and stuff flying around and everything. I mean, I don't know, it came out perfectly, from the artwork and everything. Like I'm completely satisfied with the end product.
So whose idea was it to come up with the artwork, or did you outsource someone completely separate to do
it? Yeah, that was all the expert as well. I don't know if he had worked with the artist before or not, but it's a guy named Gavin. I'm assuming he's out in Ireland. Not 100% sure, but he does great work. He did all the single artwork, the artwork for the LP as well. I mean, he just did a great job. Yeah. But yeah, that was all their connection right there.
Yeah, because I mean, the marketing behind the project has been fantastic, man. He based on what the expert has written, he was just saying that it's the artwork was carefully crafted collage on the album that reflects war, greed, injustice, racism, and social ecology. So I mean, and based on your lyrical content on this project, man, there's a lot of depth, man. There's a lot of food. It's something that you have to. It takes repeat listens to really, fully like enjoy, and that's what we enjoyed so much about the project, man. It was just like every time we listened to it, we'd find something new, So it was definitely a surprise for us as well. And yeah, it was just beautifully put together, man, and very well mixed. And it was just I imagine you haven't met the expert, or did you guys put it together over the internet, or?
Yeah, it's another one of those internet things. I think after Foreign Exchange did put together their project, that kind of opened up the doorway for things like that to happen.
See, that was literally on the tip of my tongue, man, because as soon as you said, like, you mentioned Von P, because he's on that album as well, isn't it? The Connected album. So it was just like, it kind of gave us immediately that feel of like the connected, obviously, little brother connecting with Nicolay, who's based in the Netherlands. We kind of got that vibe with this project, man. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's definitely in the, in that same vein, right there. It's definitely part of the same lineage of Foreign Exchange, for sure. I mean, even down to, how conceptualized it is, I think it kind of harkens back to that, but just on a whole different vibe.
Man, so now the next step is that you guys have got you've got to come over to the UK, and we got to bring that tour together, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So let's break down some of the tracks, man. We got Black Tears, which was definitely a standout for us, man. What was the idea? The actual song titles and concepts for the individual tracks, are these things that you came up with yourself, or with the collaborators on board?
It was a collaboration between all of us. Like Black Tears specifically, that was something that the expert had worked on with Stick Figure, previously. And he brought the idea for the record to me. I liked it, obviously, and I kind of added my own perspective and my own twist to what they had already kind of conceptualized. Other times, I would bring an idea. I would say, all right, I'm thinking, this song should be about, such and such. I would let him know, and maybe he would kind of craft it a little bit around the subject matter or how I'm rapping, how I delivered the lyrics. I mean, it was really a collaboration in the deepest sense of the word. If you ask me. Yeah. So the ideas kind of came from everywhere.
Yeah, because listening to a track like that and a track like Bullet Shock definitely gave us like Killer Mike vibes. It's just it's really such a powerful record, man. Really well written. How important is it for you personally to have like a positive, I guess, message, to leave the listeners or young black men or young black children just listening to your music? How important is that to you?
I mean, it's very important. This is, of the utmost importance. I mean, like I was explaining earlier, the era I come from is like, the music has a message, you know what I mean? Like KRS, it's the edutainment, you know what I mean? So it's a mixture between the two, so, my main objective is really always just to kind of spark thought. I want people to think about certain things, just get those wheels turning in your mind, about a certain subject or a subject matter, because I'm not always gonna come out directly and say, okay, this is how you should think, or this is how it is, and it's, what I'm saying, it's black and white. I try to paint a complete picture, of the whole, the topic, scene, whatever, and then kind of let the listener, draw from that and come to their own conclusions about what I'm speaking about. It's really more so like a thinking exercise. A lot of times, I might do a song and I might, rap from this perspective of a topic and then rap from the other perspective of a topic too, and pose them as questions, to each other, because, I never want to be too preachy, because then it becomes hard for people to digest. But I think if you just lay things out and let people, kind of pick it apart for themselves, people are more likely to kind of take in what you're trying to give them, So.
Yeah, man. And I think another thing that stands out, especially to us listeners in the UK, man, is the soundscape, the versatility in the production, the samples. I noticed the expert used a lot of samples from the late 60s. Like there was like psychedelic rock elements in it. And it's just, just that dynamic hip hop, man. And it's interesting that we mentioned Outkast, because it kind of gives you a bit of like Stankonia feel to it in terms of like, the diversity of the soundscape, man. And also what the cherry on top is your versatility as an MC. You end the project on a really nice note, with the record A Little Love. And obviously I mean, I admit to not being overly familiar with your earlier work, but I mean, listening to this project, it definitely encouraged me to want to go back and check out some of your earlier work, man, or even check out what's next on the agenda,
Right.
So I mean, so just an overview for some of our listeners who may not be familiar with this project. Why do they need to check it out?
You need to check it out because I mean it's definitely unique right now. I don't, I'm a big hip hop fan, and I don't think there's anything out there like this currently. You know what I mean? Especially conceptually, sound wise for sure. Because the choice that the expert made to go with psychedelic rock, that was kind of that's very unique in itself, and that's kind of that's part of what drew me to doing the project, because it's like, oh, I haven't heard that before, that's something that really, okay, that's unique. So, sonically it definitely stands out. I definitely think there's a message buried in there that people could appreciate, especially now, you know, with, you know, all that's going on in the world. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that right there is enough, you know, to kind of warrant people to check it out. You know, if you want to hear something unique and well put together, I think this is the project you want to check out.
Yeah. That's perfect, man. And another note, I mean, was this project put together during the pandemic, or how long did it take to put it together? From
I want to say this was probably about a 3.5, 4 year. Yeah, it was about 3.5, 4 years or so. During the pandemic, I don't really remember working on this quite as much as before. So, you know, we definitely took our time. It's definitely one of those handcrafted kind of things. It's not cookie cutter. Mm-hmm. The expert, he really sat down with this project and massaged it. And, you know, I mean, if you listen to it, like all the different, dialogue and, you know, different places that he pulled things from and just, you know, brought it all together for, you know, to be one conducive project. I mean, you can tell this, you know, there was a lot of love that went into it, you know. And I know he's proud of it for sure. And I definitely am.
Yeah. What is it about this album that, you know, we know it's dope? Like, we support it totally on our podcast as well. But it's like, for the wider audience, man, why do they need to hear this album?
I think it's it's important message in music for one. And if that's, some people might find that as a turn off, but if it's not, what I think it is that it's a really easy, enjoyable listen. First and foremost, there's a message then behind the easy listen. And I think it's a really interesting listen. I think it changes a lot throughout the record. The production is very varied and there's lots of beat switches, and I think it keeps you interested and it's got a lot of nuance. Like I think you won't just hear it one time and go, yeah, I don't need to hear that again. There's not a lot in it. I think you can dig into it deeper and deeper regarding the production and the lyrics, and yeah, it's like, you know, fairly timeless concept and sonic sounds. So yeah, I think if you want something more interesting than the average record, and Jesus, that's not me shitting on average hip hop records, it's just that I think production, there's an awful lot going on in this to keep someone interested.
Yeah. No.
Does that make sense?
No, it totally does, man, and it is a really dope project, man. For the listeners that are locked in right now, that are loving the project and want to hear more of your stuff, what would you recommend they check out next, and what else is in the pipeline?
I mean, yeah, definitely check out the overview effects. You know, do that first. You know, we've kind of been tossing around the idea of, you know, doing another one, you know, so, you know, I guess be on the lookout for that, but it might be a while until you get it. But yeah, you can go back and check out the projects I did with Danny Diggs, Middle Classic, Quiet as Kept, the Red Giants, and then I have some solo projects as well. And then I guess coming up, what's on the burner right now? Oh, me and an artist named Mega Ran. We got an album coming out later. Should be later this year.
Definitely, man. He's one of those. He raps about sports stuff, doesn't he? A lot. And
yeah. That's my guy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He's dope, man. You know, that's another one that's, you know, been in the cooker for a long time, you know, and I'll be really excited when that comes out. Yeah. But yeah, it should be later this year. So definitely keep your ears tuned and look out for that.
Amazing, man. And we really hope that you can come over to the UK soon, man, and obviously, or even Ireland as well, you know, so we can get to see this project, man, play out in real life, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's fantastic, man. So if the people want to get in touch with you, man, what's the best way on the socials? What's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, on the socials, Jermiside everywhere, at Jermiside. I think my IG is at Jermiside1. But yeah, you can find me there. You can find me pretty much anywhere. Just type in Jermiside. I got a weird name, so you know it'll be the first thing you see.
Right. And if any MCs that are listening, man, want to check out some of your production work, can they hit you up via that as well?
Yeah, you can definitely hit me up. Yeah, I do have an instrumental album out. This has been out since like 2017. It's called A Moment Between Places. If you want to check out some of my instrumental work. Yeah, and I produce as well. So, you know, I drop beats on my Instagram here and there. So, yeah, you know, yeah, any MCs looking for production, yeah, I'll learn.
Nice, man. And a question we usually round up on, and for you personally, it might be a bit early in your career to say this, but how would you look at the Jermiside legacy, man? Like in terms of what you stand for as an artist?
Ooh, that's a deep one right there. Jermiside legacy. As an artist, I would want people to say that, you know, he was a craftsman. You know, he was a craftsman with the artistry. Yeah, a craftsman with a purpose. You know, that's how I would like my legacy to be left, for sure.
Nice, man. Beautiful. Man, Jermiside, I want to thank you so much for taking time to kick it with the Connoisseurs of Hip Hop, man. We're going to continue to support your music, your work, this incredible album that you've got out, you know, and definitely we look forward to seeing you in the UK at some point, you know, and maybe conducting our next interview in person, you know, so.
Sure, yeah.
My man.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it, man. It's good talking to you, and yeah, you'll definitely see me over there in the UK soon, for sure.
Amazing, brother. All the best, man, going forwards. Take care.
All right, you too. Peace.
I mean, if there's some MCs listening and, you know, and obviously other producers listening, man, what's the best way to get in touch? What's the socials?
Yeah, all the socials. Yeah, all the socials are the same. It's just It's.TheExpert, ITSTHEEXPRT. And on Twitter and Instagram, they're really the only two I do, to be honest with you. So yeah, you can hit me up on either of them if you want to chat. And yeah, I'm more than happy to, you know, reach out to people and have a chat, you know. And I want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity and platform to talk about the record, because yeah, I think me and Jermiside are really proud and happy of what we've done.
Yeah, man, it's a brilliant project, man. Bro,
Thanks,
I want to thank you so much for taking time to kick it with the Connoisseurs, man. And yeah, we definitely look forward to, you know, what you've got coming in the future, man, and obviously continuing to bump this particular project, man. It's really dope. So yeah, brother, till next time, my man.
Thanks, man.
All the best.
Peace.